So now we're going to delve into a rather interesting and a more humane session named Soldiers and Society. For that, I would like to invite on dais our panelists Ambreen Zedi, Meghna Girish, Major General Ajay Singh Chauhan, Shaurya Chakra and SM, and Lieutenant General Asit Mistry, PVSM, AVSM, SM on the dais. So to introduce my panelist, Amreen Zaidi is a distinguished columnist and author. Her book Soldiering On is a tribute to our soldiers' resilience, courage and determination. Meghna Girish is the co-founder of Akshay Girish Memorial Trust and mother of a braveheart, Akshay Girish. Her book named War Wounded, Disabled Soldiers and Cadets is a report on the lives of soldiers and officer cadets injured in the battle. I think that was done in the morning. That book was released by the Major General Ajay Singh Chauhan is presently the MD, Managing Director of Army Welfare Placement Organization, mandated to facilitate placements of veterans, widows and their wards. Lieutenant General Mistry is an infantarian who has been part of UN peacekeeping. Over to you, General Mistry, for the session.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Notwithstanding the late hour of the day, the dwindling strength of the attendees, and a little bit of drooping eyes, I think this is one of the most important sessions of the day. And as the MC initially said, this is about the human aspect. And this session, the soldier and the society, it's probably the most important because it is the interface of the soldier and the society. And when we say soldier, it is a generic term, includes the officers, men, JCOs of all armed service, all three services, and genders. And to correctly reflect the society, if you notice, even this panel has got appropriate gender balance. Now, what General Rakesh Sharma said in the morning, that unless you quote something like Clausewitz or something, you will be called an unpad. So I must match, try and live up to his challenge. Even when Clausewitz talked about war, he talked about a trinity of three elements that was essential to understand and study war. And he defined the trinity consisting of the state or the government, the military and the commander, and the third element was the people or the society. And therefore, it's not possible to study the whole phenomena of war without understanding all the three elements. And when you talk of soldier and the society, there are many dimensions, there are many stages. The first important point is that it is a two-way kind of an interface and interaction. The soldier does a lot for the society, from the very fundamental fact of preserving and securing the society, ensuring its existence, upholding its values, creating an environment for its growth and development, and so on. And in return, the society respects and honors the soldier, or ought to be doing that. The question is the society doing enough? Now, when you come to stages, again, you need, if I can divide in terms of activities, you need support of the society pre-hostilities or when you are raising and sustaining your forces. That means the society must play its part in providing the right material to create your armed forces. During hostilities, the society must continue to support the soldiers so that the morale is kept up. And post-conflict, or as the soldier finishes the active duty and has to reintegrate back into the society, again, you need the support of the society. And it is this third stage is what this discussion is going to focus on. And as already introduced, I have a very experienced and a very unique panel. Each of these panelists brings their own individual expertise and understanding of this very complex subject that affects all of us. But what is common among all of them is that at the core of their heart, the welfare and well-being of the soldier, their families, and their dependent is at the core of the heart. And when we talk of the third stage, when the soldier has to finish his active duty and go back to the society, a number of us may not be fortunate to go back in one piece. Some of us, unfortunately, make the ultimate sacrifice, so you leave behind an army of widows. Some of us lose their limbs or part of their bodies and go back disabled. The society needs to show empathy, understanding, and take care of these soldiers, and not only the soldiers, but their families. And therefore, they face a large number of challenges. Even those who are not, permanently impacted, they are hale and hearty in mind and spirit and body, even they need to be facilitated back into the society for a second innings. To discuss various dimensions, we have a very experienced panel, as I said, and we start with my view with Mrs. Meghna Girish. And those of you who do not know, she is one person who, without wearing uniform, is more uniform than all of us. She is daughter of an army officer, married to an Air Force officer, and mother of an army officer who is a brave heart. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. At the outset, I'd like to thank the War Wounded Foundation and USI for tasking me with what is a study on our war-disabled soldiers and officer cadets who were disabled during training and boarded out of various training academies. Without that, I don't think I would have learned so much over the process of 2 years that it took to complete this study and prioritize all the gaps and challenges and come out with recommendations. A number of people have been part of this effort. I cannot claim this to be mine, although I led the study. And I'm very happy that some of those young, motivated people who helped with the survey are in the audience today. So are families of soldiers who've made the supreme sacrifice, both men and women. So I think that part of society is already in this hall. Coming to this report, why this study in the first place? Because this entire day I've attended sessions on bravery, wars, battles, various things to do with war. But the two categories of people most affected by bravery, courage, valor, and war are soldiers who give their life, killed in action, and soldiers who were injured during the course of these battles and wars, and who became disabled for life. What happens to them after the war? What happens to their families as well? That was something that nothing like this had been done before. And this study actually is a nationwide study which looks at 3 categories. One are veteran soldiers, disabled, 20% and or greater, up to 100% disability. They may have been boarded out immediately after disability and treatment because they can no longer serve, or they may have continued to serve and retired either voluntarily or at the end of their service. The second category is those who are disabled, again 20% and upwards, and who are continuing to serve in the Indian Army. And the third category is cadets who, bright. I always like to think of the brightest, bravest, most committed youth only would have attempted to get into the forces. And they would have gone through a strict medical examination before they are even allowed into the training academy. So those cadets who entered with that commitment and who, because of injury and disability during the period that they were in the academy, were then boarded out because they don't make the cut to actually serve. What is their ground reality today? So when we look at ground reality, what is their status? A lot of personal information in that as well. And what is their awareness of policies, benefits, entitlements? What is their access to all of that which is on paper? What are the gaps, what in terms of percentages? And what are the most, the biggest challenges? Like we've tried to prioritize, because some of these gaps could be individual, but overall we looked at what encompasses all of them, prioritize those gaps, and then make recommendations to bridge those gaps so that all our soldiers who were disabled and are leading a life of disability can lead a life with dignity and comfort, because the least that a nation can do is look after those who've sacrificed for the nation. So this broadly is what the study encompasses. And I do have a very brief presentation on this. I don't know whether you would like me to make it right away or...
Yeah, if it is ready, we can do it right away.
Yeah, it's ready. So, there's a lot of data, a lot of tables, diagrams. I really can't do all of that in the 10 minutes that I have. But if I could just read out some of these major gaps. Sorry. Just to get an idea. So there were some significant findings which I tried to summarize. And it said, how many received ex gratia after disability? 33%. Both serving as well as veterans received. Only 33% said that they got their complete ex gratia after disability. Then what was their level of education? Only 6% were beyond schooling. Though I must admit here that 97% of our respondents are below officer rank. So only 6% had gone beyond schooling. And were they employed or, after being boarded out or retired? Only 13%, 13% are employed. And what becomes very significant here is that they were disabled between 19 and 30 years of age. So they're very young when they are out and without a job. And anybody who got any petrol pump or gas agency, any other agency for a livelihood, less than 1%. Was there deterioration since their last medical board in their, in their medical deterioration because of their disability? 32% said yes. And do they have access to free medical treatment? Even here there's a gap, 87%. Although all of them had ECHS, the gap is because it's too far for them to go, where they live is too far, so they just have to go in for private, whatever they can manage, transportation, everything is a problem. Are they able to claim fee reimbursement for children? Only 40%. Have they got any kind of train or flight concessions? 26%. Is their unit regiment in touch? Are they supportive? 63%. Do they want their children or grandchildren to join the armed forces? 89%. So the level of motivation is so high, but the gaps are major. And it starts with an awareness gap. When there's no awareness, then of course, after that, it comes to the access gaps. How do you apply for various benefits and entitlements? And some of them said they applied, nothing happened, didn't come back, they can't pursue it. You know, a disabled soldier has an average of 3 dependents as well. And they are also around, mainly having to take care of the soldier himself. So what about employment, continuing education, rehabilitation, post-traumatic stress disorder? Did they get treatment? It covered a lot of all of these in the study. I'd like to take just 2 representative studies to explain what it means. Could I have the next slide, please? So the first is on a war-disabled soldier. He's a war hero, Nayak Dhigendra Singh, Mahavir Chakra in the Kargil War. And he continued to serve after his injury, but he found that the disability was worsening, and after 5 years, he wanted to leave voluntarily. And then the problem started. Suddenly, the war heroes, leaving voluntarily meant that he was not getting the war injury pension. He was getting the ordinary disability pension. He went to court, had to fight for 5 years, and before it was granted to him. And also the Kargil package, there was land from the government and certain other benefits which was part of the Kargil package, like an agency. They denied all that to him, saying, Nini, now that is all over. It's 5 years later. So again, he had to fight before that was given to him. So to treat a war hero in this manner, that litigation becomes the way to get your entitlements and benefits is really very, very sad. Especially when, speaking, he would say, Kal bhi agar ladai hui, and if my unit calls me, I will go back and fight. Because that is the commitment they have for the country. And then to be treated this way, I think it's a very sad reflection. The next is of a 100% disabled officer cadet, Shubham Gupta. He had an injury during the swimming training when he dived and his head hit the edge of the pool, and spine down, he cannot move. He is on, he's like a quadriplegic, 100% on with an attendant. His parents are doing everything they can to look after him. But then even his 2 years of BSc in NDA was not considered when he was boarded out. He had to again go back and do a complete BA online. And what are the job opportunities for a boy who's so bright in his mind and brain? I've visited him, spoken to him. With assistive aids, etc., etc., aren't there any jobs that can be given? He has a good wheelchair now. That also became a big issue on social media when he actually applied for another motorized wheelchair, and army said, no, you're not an ex-serviceman, so you can't get it. And then Jalved Malik took up for him. This came up on social media. Vikas Manhas is here. I am here. We all wrote about it. And then then Chief Minister was Captain Amrinder Singh. He said, okay, Government of Punjab will give it to you. And in 48 hours, the army had delivered him that wheelchair. So why this gap? What can be done? Why is it not done? This leaves a very, sad status of what's happening. And I think to be made to feel a burden when you've actually committed to serve your country, that is very wrong. And I think we as a country are rich enough and able enough to support these 400 odd disabled officer cadets who are outside. And not all of them are so bad. Many of them are well settled, but those who are so badly disabled, something seriously needs to be done at the policy level. Can I have the next slide, please? No, the previous one. Yeah, so these were the gaps and challenges that were prioritized, starting from not coming under the Disability Act, which is a very protective act for all citizens of India, but armed forces soldiers are called combatants and therefore left out of the act because by nature of their work, they have to be fully fit. So a lot of benefits are not available because of this, right from being boarded out to promotions to better working conditions, allowances, etc., etc. So the need is related to that. Similarly, all the other thing, lack of recognition. People say, oh, if you're killed in action, at least, you know, you get your family gets a lot of benefits, get a lot of recognition. Those who are disabled, they're not even part of victory celebrations or felicitations. Did we not sacrifice for our country? So that lack of recognition also hurts. Similarly, there's no treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder, not enough counseling, helplines. It's not recognized as soldierly enough, I think, but a lot of them have been suffering, and many of them have said that they have not got treatment for it. So I've just tried to prioritize whatever are the major gaps, which leads to the recommendations that have been made. Can I have the next slide, please? So these were the recommendations that have come forward. The first is, how do you minimize disability with the earliest, best possible medical care? So enhanced battlefield surgery itself within that first hour of injury to minimize the disability. The next is a specific disability act for armed forces personnel. If all citizens of the country have a protective legislation, why are the armed forces left out of it? So let it be modified accordingly as per their need. The third is, we don't have proper updated data. I found it very challenging to, you know, come up with numbers. What are the number of war disabled in all the 5 wars and in various counterinsurgencies. So these are very approximate figures that we have, and details like contact details, numbers, etc. Many of them are not available. Those which were given to me also, the numbers had changed. Some of them had already passed on. The family members were also, they said, oh no, he's already passed on. And an important thing is that every person who was surveyed in this study, they were very happy to speak. Initially, some of them were hesitant, and my volunteers said, ma'am, wo baat nahi kare, they're saying, ye scam hoga, who are you to be doing a study like this, etc. So USI did give us those letters saying, this is for this purpose and it's for advocacy. Once that initial hesitation was over, they had lovely stories to tell us about their whole experience, their injury, what happened. Some very positive stories as well, about how much support they got and how they thought they'd die, but then they became okay and that they could continue to serve. So both positive and negative stories we got. But the data itself, we don't have a proper data bank which is updated. Also, the entitlements that they are getting, like ex gratia, now has been enhanced to 8 lakhs. Earlier it was 2 lakhs, before that was 1. It's a pittance compared to what should be given. There should be much better entitlements and benefits with much more awareness. First of all, if they're not aware at their unit level itself and they're not guided, how do they get access? The next is, what happens once they're out? Employment is a huge gap, and they're very young. Many of them were not even married, or some of them married with young children, and to not have a job after that is very sad for the entire family. So there is no lateral employment policy as of now for the war disabled, whereas the Disability Act takes up for the disabled in other government jobs. So the recommendation is for lateral employment. Ex-serviceman status or some sort of ex-cadet status, at least for disabled cadets, because there's no recognition of their commitment to serve. Some of them completed 2 years, 2.5 years, even 3 years before they were boarded out. And suddenly, other than a small ex gratia, they don't even get ECHS. Free medical treatment is also not part of what a disabled cadet gets. And parents will look after as long as they're there, but what is the country's responsibility? And war disabled as a special category, like killed in action, so that they get the kind of respect, recognition, and status for having sacrificed for the country. That's it as of now, that my study covers. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was very enlightening. Round of applause, please. Thank you. What we'll do is we'll go to the next panelist. We'll reserve the questions till then, discussion and questions, and then we'll come back to that. Our next panelist is Mrs. Amreen Zaidi. She's again wife of an army officer. And in her case, she's written two very important books. The first is called The Warrior Widows. And I must draw your attention to the title. She doesn't call them war widows. I think she has found a more appropriate term, warrior widows, because for those ladies, the war continues at a different front line, but it's a war. Her second book is called Soldiering On. And this book is about the remarkable spirit of those who've been disabled, but yet continue to persist and strive and overcome their disabilities. If you read this book, it is straight from the heart. It's very interesting, very easy to read, but carries a lot of meaning. And I'll request Mrs. Amreen Zaidi to share her views and thoughts, please.
Good evening, everyone. And first of all, I would like to say, when I started to write this book, I wish I had a study like Mrs. Girish had done back then, because we had no data, no study, no case studies whatsoever at that point of time. But then Forge is a family. One soldier led to the other, one disabled cadet led to the other, one lady led to the other lady, her struggles, and that is how this book is here. And the book is right now in the government libraries on a running order of 7 states, because the Ministry of Defense, especially the Defense Minister, he thought that these stories must reach the masses. So he got them translated into Hindi, Josh, Jazba and Junoon. But when I met these soldiers, I felt so little. I felt so hurt. I felt, what are we doing as a society for people who've given their limbs, their body parts for us, for protecting us? There is absolutely no awareness about them. They don't exist in a way. So I felt I need to write this book and put it across as many platforms as I can so that it reaches, people get to know about them. So I must tell you about this very interesting thing. This book has changed my perspective on life in a very, very big way. Can you imagine this book of 80,000 words is edited by a soldier who's 100% disabled, who needs help even to breathe. He's got a machine fixed here to help him breathe. And he doesn't give up. When I went to visit him, I couldn't enter his room. I saw him through a glass panel, and I told the person who was accompanying me, I said, let's not disturb him, he's resting. He said, no ma'am, he's waiting for you. I said, I can see it, he's resting. Let's not disturb him, we'll come tomorrow, maybe day after. So she insisted. And the moment I entered, and I'm greeted by a very bright voiced, good afternoon, Amreen Zaidi ma'am, it's a privilege to have you here. And I was so pleasantly surprised. And this was this officer lying straight on his hospital bed. And as I told you, he was breathing through this machine. And yet, that Josh that you call was still there. And we were talking, and he knew everything about me because I write, and I have been writing for years. So he knew about our postings also. He told me, man, in that year, sir was posted in Pune, and this year you were in Bhopal, Jodhpur, everything he knew. So I said, you are a smart officer. And from then onwards, I started to talk to him like on a level playing field, as if he's also like all of us. and not a disabled person anymore. I said, in 2 days' time, you've dig out so much of information about me, you better help me edit this book. And that glow on his face, कि मतलब मैं भी किसी के काम आ सकता हूँ क्या types. I can never forget it. I said, why not? When you can dig out so much information about me in few hours, why can't you edit this book? So, in his own very sweet, Fauji way, he said, it'll be an honor, ma'am. So, a person who needs help, 2 caretakers, even to lift his finger, 3 people to help him eat, it was a big, big deal. And he is still under heavy medication, so he used to be awake in the nights and sleep during the daytime. So I scheduled my work along those lines, and my book was edited by him. And finally, when the editing part was done and it was to go to the publishers, so I had given him a tribute, my editor, my pride. And just like that, I don't know, yeah, because he was a good part of my book, so I just wanted him to have a look at my book before I send it to the publishers. So I said, just have a look at this Colonel Prakash, and I'm sending the book to the publishers. And he wanted me to remove that chapter. He said, ma'am, please don't do this. Please don't write my editor, my pride. I don't want any publicity or anything. I've not done anything, ma'am. I said, but you have worked hard with your condition and everything. He said, ma'am, the stars were put together by you. I only put the brasso on them and, brightened them up. I've not done anything. Please, if you want to include me in the book, please include me as a normal chapter like other brave heroes who are featured in the book, but not as a separate chapter on me. And uske baad, I told my publisher, we are not going to change even a comma in this book. So they all agreed. And this time I felt that the launch of the book will not be done by any politician, neta or abhineta or anyone. I went back to him. I spoke to his doctors, his parents, and got my book launched by him. And that was my moment when I could feel the happiness on his face. It was very difficult for him, even for the inaugural part, to sit on the wheelchair. Imagine the condition. Yet he did this work, and he was so happy with it. And last week I got a message from him, ma'am, what's next? So never give up spirit, the soldiers that they have, is something that I've learned from this book, from this journey, this beautiful journey that I had.
Thank you. I think all of us had goosebumps and probably a couple of tears in the eyes listening to that. Very inspiring. That's the story of Lieutenant Colonel Chinmaya Prakash. If you read this book, you will find majority of it brought out very, very, very nicely in this book. As I said, the soldiers are a great asset to the society, and a large number of us finish our active duty and rejoin the society in some capacity or other. On an average, at least 50 to 60,000 soldiers retire from the army, and a proportionate number from the Air Force and the Navy. Over 90% of them are those who are NCOs and below. That means they are around the age of 40 plus minus. So they have a huge productive life still left and pending. And this very potential human resource must be capitalized by the society. They must become part and parcel of the story of growth and development of our country, and contribute as meaningfully in their second innings as they did in their first innings. To help them do this in some form or other, the Army has created an organization known as Army Welfare Placement Organization, or AWPO. We have the Managing Director of EWPO with us, General Ajay Chauhan. I'll request him to share his thoughts of what opportunities are there for second innings and how his organization has been helping the soldiers find viable outcomes in life.
Thank you, sir. The chair, the learned panelists, ladies and gentlemen, indeed a proud privilege to be here and speaking to you on this extremely, extremely important, very, very sensitive matter. You know, I can't hold myself, taking permission of the chair, what Mrs. Jayadi just explained. I want to give you another example, sir, if you permit. Sure. You know, I have a course mate of mine from the Gurkha regiment. This officer is commanding a regiment, RR unit, standing on the roof, conducting an operation in J&K. He gets bullet shot. He gets a bullet shot, he falls down. His unit is there, his boys are firing, there's a crossfire taking place, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting to hear, very difficult to explain. This boy falls down. There is a crossfire still going on. His body is not able to be recovered. It is flashed in the news. Officer is no more. The commanding officer of a unit. He was pulled by his soldiers, kept in a vehicle, taken to the base hospital in Srinagar. And what? And he's narrating now, you know, after about 4 or 5 years. And he says, you know, चौहान जब मेरे को लगी थी ना गोली और मैं बैठा था, इधर एक जवान था और इधर एक जवान था, दोनों ने दबा के रखा था मेरे को और कहते हैं सर आप सांस लेते रहो. और he is telling himself, he said, I told myself, I've worked in this organization for 25 years. Collected a lot of money to marry my daughter. सुनना बहुत आसान है. These two ladies explained. मैंने अपनी डॉटर की शादी करनी है. How can I die? He had grenade pellets in his body. He was taken to the base hospital, and the best part was he survived, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the courage I wanted to bring out here to all of you. Well, the next part which I am going to speak to you about, a soldier retires at what age? Today he starts from 35 years. He's still got 25 years of productive, if I take it 60. It's the only armed forces, ladies and gentlemen, where people retire with the rank and in the order of his rank. Where in the government organizations today, people retire at the age of 35. Can you imagine? He's retiring at 35, and one daughter is 2 years old and a son is 5 years old. Where does he go after it? And that is where we have to think to give him a resettlement, a proper, honorable resettlement. And that is the requirement of today, ladies and gentlemen. And here I am to speak to you about the second innings. It is not that everything is gloomy. Things are very good. Our soldiers, I will just explain and I prove it to you that they are doing exceedingly well, including the wounded and the disabled people. Next slide, please. Sorry, I'll use this pointer. Just give it to me. Okay, this is the Economic Times talking of our ex-servicemen. Why ex-servicemen folks in demand? You know what we do is, we look at the strength of others. Please, ladies and gentlemen, look at your own strength. आप में बहुत जान है अभी. And what are the things which they are looking at? Leadership, management skills, teamwork, integrity, very important, moral courage. These are the things which corporate and other organizations require from us. This is another example how veterans make an impact outside. All these corporate, the big wigs which we call, whether it is Amazon, by KPMG, Infosys, all are looking at the veterans. And I just happened to go to Citibank recently at the headquarters in Bombay. And I was myself, surprised to see about 60 defense officers working with Citibank. So that's a very beautiful story for you to understand. Next slide. Veterans in corporate India, the GCCs. These are the global companies which are looking at veterans. And this is the latest in June 24. And see the importance of veterans. So therefore, don't sit down and think, yeah, retirement aa gaya hai. You have another, innings to go. And take it as a first innings and not at all as a second innings, ladies and gentlemen. Next slide. So having said that, after Kargil, the army realized that we must have an organization in the army. Now I think I can sit down because we're very emotional. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, after Kargil, the army realized that they require somebody who should have an intimate support to the people who are retiring. And therefore, they had an organization, created an organization called Army Welfare Placement Agency. Now, this was a placement agency, a small organization with one brigadier and one colonel and a small office. And they sat down and in 2010, it became an organization. And today, I am very proudly, mentioning here that it is one of the largest organizations in the armed forces, which has got about 17 outlets covering length and breadth of our country. And every year, I will show you here. And what is my charter? Sorry, I'm skipping. It is to assist ex-servicemen, widows, and all dependents in seeking suitable placement. So I have not only the ex-servicemen, it is also the widows, wards, dependent, ladies, anyone. And we look at that kind of, the products and the resources which are available. And this is how we are panned out. We have a website called exarmynokri.com. You may like to take a look in that subsequently. And of course, these are my initiatives. I will not waste time. It's just a... So, what are the opportunities today and how we have placed people? Till now, in last about 14 years, we have placed approximately 2,300 officers. Extremely difficult to connect an opportunity with a job because every individual who retires, he talked about 60,000 retiring, everyone has got his different requirements in-house. We have placed approximately 132,000 JCOs and other ranks, approximately 1,800 widows and dependents in the organization. Empowerment, these are the milestones which we are also doing. We are also empowering them so that they can get into a better, organizations on the lines of what NSDC is doing. But this is the difference between us and the other government organizations is that we provide the last mile connectivity. We are into solar, we are into drone technology, we have empowered people in the e-vehicles, the food preservation, digital literacy. People don't prepare themselves, unfortunately. That is the biggest problem. And if they understand what is the strength in them, they will be able to do it. We extended our outreach even to the foreign countries. We recently sent about 10 people in Japan. And this is a live photograph recently taken in Japan. They are working at the Tokyo airport. So veterans for every industry, it is not only, do not consider, I hope there are some employers sitting here, do not consider any veteran for security. No, he is a comprehensive package today. Unfortunately, we are keeping them in silos where they are only given one task. He is absolutely an expert on multitasking. You give him an event like this to organize, he will be able to do it. I have just listed out certain opportunities and the sectors where the veterans can, establish themselves or they can reach. There are many other, opportunities and sectors where they can go. just to talk of education itself in the education sector. I've just highlighted the schools where our veterans are doing. General Lalotra, he's one of the pioneers as far as the education sector is concerned. He's the guru for us. He's been in Mayo College, he's from Lawrence School, Sanar. So these are all army officers which I'm showing. It's a magazine which is published from Bangalore, Brain Feed, and these are all people who are into the education sector itself. Sorry. One more impact which has made, our ex-servicemen have made, is 112. All of us have seen Delhi 112. This is the emergency response support system vehicles. It comes on emergency. In Bihar, they approached AWPO, the Bihar government, where they said that you are the one, just provide me ex-servicemen, and you will be surprised that 4,000 ex-servicemen today are driving, and it is a matter of last 2 years. And what is the result today? Yesterday I spoke to one of the officers there. He says, people have got so much of confidence कि अगर 112 को ring कर देंगे तो गाड़ी जरूर आएगी, whether it is village or whether it is a city. I'll just talk of the agriculture sector. Next, just can you play this video for me? Thank you. He's a Colonel Saab. He's a Sainik School Kunjpura. Just play this video. Now, this is the story of Nayak Shivaji Dole, and he's one of the he's an ex army from the Jawan from the Corps of Signals, and he's now in Maharashtra. Now, this gentleman came on from PM's Man Ki Baat, and this guy today, he's got almost 600 acres of land from the government. He's employed about 70,000 ex-servicemen. The previous videos, unfortunately, did not run. He's Colonel Deswal. He's the Carrot King of India. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I wanted to highlight here is that the veterans have made a major impact in the society today. As far as the Mrs. Jayadi and Mrs. Grish talked about the wounded, there is an institute called QMTI.
Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah. So in QMTI,
मैंने जय अनुसंधान की बात की थी। मन की बात में आज बात एक ऐसे व्यक्ति की, एक ऐसी संस्था की जो जय जवान, जय किसान, जय विज्ञान और जय अनुसंधान, इन चारों का ही प्रतिबिंब है। ये सज्जन है महाराष्ट्र के श्रीमान शिवाजी शामराव डोले जी। शिवाजी डोले नासिक जिले के एक छोटे से गांव के रहने वाले हैं। वो गरीब आदिवासी किसान परिवार से आते हैं और एक पूर्व सैनिक भी हैं। फौज में रहते हुए उन्होंने अपना जीवन देश के लिए लगाया। रिटायर होने के बाद उन्होंने कुछ नया सीखने का फैसला किया और एग्रीकल्चर में डिप्लोमा किया। यानी वो जय जवान से जय किसान की तरफ बढ़ चले। अब हर पल उनकी कोशिश यही रहती है कि कैसे कृषि क्षेत्र में अपना अधिक से अधिक योगदान दें। अपने इस अभियान में शिवाजी डोले जी ने 20 लोगों की एक छोटी सी टीम बनाई और कुछ पूर्व सैनिकों को भी इसमें जोड़ा। इसके बाद उनकी इस टीम ने वेंकटेश्वर कोऑपरेटिव पावर एंड एग्रो प्रोसेसिंग लिमिटेड नाम की एक सहकारी संस्था का प्रबंधन अपने हाथ में ले लिया। ये सहकारी संस्था निष्क्रिय पड़ी थी, जिसे रिवाइव करने का बीड़ा उन्होंने उठाया। देखते ही देखते आज वेंकटेश्वर कोऑपरेटिव का विस्तार कई जिलों में हो गया है। आज ये टीम महाराष्ट्र और कर्नाटका में काम कर रही।
Yeah. So this was one which came in the PM's Man Ki Baat, and one more. She talked about the disabled soldiers. The major discussion was on that. So from Q&A, I just had a webinar. I attended a webinar where one soldier, he was told by the doctor, injured, from Paras, 3 Paras, he's from Agra. He was told by the doctors कि तुम अगर ना बिस्तर से वॉशरूम और वॉशरूम से वापस आ जाओगे तो वो बहुत है तुम्हारे लिए, उतना ही करना तुम। And ladies and gentlemen, today he started with आलू प्याज का ठेला and he's taking contracts in countries like Nepal, in Bhutan, on road construction. So अगर कहते हैं ना जज्बा है अंदर, तो आप चांद को भी नीचे ला सकते हैं. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
We have questions for the audience? 5 minutes? Yeah, okay. Since we are running short of time, I will not pose any questions to the panelists, but use the time for the audience to ask any questions if they wish to. None? General Cardozo wants to ask a question.
It's not a question. I would just like to share some of my experiences as a battle casualty. Firstly, let me thank Amreen, General Mistry, General Chauhan, Meghna, for this wonderful presentation. Charity begins at home. All these wonderful things which are happening today, they didn't happen in my time. I say this with a heavy heart, but I think we need to state facts. Otherwise, I'm amazed, General Chauhan, at what you're doing. It's absolutely fantastic. Nothing happened like this in our time. In fact, I was 9 months in hospital. Not a single uniformed officer visited us. Not a single service officer. Except Admiral Ronnie Pereira, who was a DEPCOM in NDA. He came, he talked to each and every one of us, officers and soldiers, and then invited us to the NDA. So, charity begins at home. When I tried to convince Army headquarters that we are not that useless, we can contribute to the service, we can contribute to the country, give us a chance. It was an uphill task. It was only Sam Manekshaw who said, I will appoint a committee to see how these battle casualties can contribute to the armed forces and to the country. I'm sorry to say, it didn't work out. The day Sam retired, this committee was bound up. After I was discharged from hospital, I was put on half pay. I was put on half pay because I was in hospital for more than 6 months. The bureaucracy of India decided to throw this rule book at battle casualties. You have stayed in hospital for more than, as though we were playing marbles when we got wounded. Why does this happen? This happened to Vijay Oberoi, 65. It happened to me, 71. It happened to Kargil. It took 40 years for Army headquarters to sort this out, to cancel this order. Why do these things happen? I'm glad to see at least one Lieutenant General from the serving sitting here. I hope you'll take this to the others in Army headquarters to tell them, have a heart. Don't look at us as though we are parasites, for God's sake. We can contribute, as you have rightly said, General Chauhan. I'm amazed at what you're doing. Thank God. God bless you. But I know Amreen and Meghna for what you're doing for us. A lot has happened. If the glass is half full, it is also half empty. There's much more to be done. And I don't know what you have not mentioned, the plight of cadets who get wounded, injured in training. It's a shame the way we are treating them. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe things have changed, I don't know. But they need your help, General Chauhan. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are running short of time, so I'll give a minute each to, okay, we have one journalist friend, so we might as well give him a say, please. But a short, quick one.
Yeah, smaller, nothing to say much. Because I once met an officer, he had got almost a bullet marks on his body. I said, you've got a bullet marks on each part of your body. He said, these are not the bullet marks. These are basically the medals for serving my motherland, India. हार नहीं मानूंगा, जीत के ही ठानूंगा. Because when you were talking about, ma'am, Josh Jazba Janoon. So I had written few lines about this thing because I want to end upon the motivational note. हार नहीं मानूंगा, जीत के ही ठानूंगा, रूठे रब को मना के ही मानूंगा. दुआओं में शक्ति है, घर ऐसी भक्ति है, मान जाएगा यार वो, आखिर बख्शनहार वो. बस थोड़ा धैर्य धर, हिम्मत तहार शुर्यावर, इम्तिया खत्म हो जाएगा, फिर से फौजियों भर कर आएगा. And that is what actually the disabled Fauji is doing every day. Thank you.
Yeah, 1 minute, please. Yeah, quick.
So since panel discussion is called Soldiers in Society, I'll just share a small incident with you. There was this aircraftsman called Mridul Ghosh. He had a spinal cord injury in the line of duty. He was, जब उसका सारा treatment वगैरह हो गया, he was boarded out of the service. He went back to his village in Assam. वहाँ पे चला तो गया किसी तरह से, उसके brothers, sisters, cousins किसी तरह से ले गए, but he was not able to function. He was not able to move around because it was a little hilly area. There was no place कि वो अपना wheelchair ले जाए या कहीं move around कर पाए. And somehow they got in touch with his unit and people, his seniors. उन्होंने कहा कि वापस भेजो, यहाँ पे पीआरसी है पुणे में, वहाँ पे भेजते हैं, देखते हैं क्या हो सकता है. उसको पीआरसी में पुणे में भेजा गया. He saw disabled soldiers playing volleyball. There was a flying officer, MP Kumar, who's a legend, writing articles, holding a stylus with his lips and on a modified computer. But he was not liking anything at all. He was in a deep depression because he was sent back from his own village because of lack of facilities and things that a disabled person would need. And he wanted to be with his own people and do something there. And he was in a very, very dark place. And he would go for counseling, come back, cry, see all these people. And then there was a workshop on painting by some group in Bombay, and suddenly he realized, maybe like Flying Officer MP Kumar, I can paint. I cannot write, so maybe I can paint. So he started holding the paintbrush with his lips and started to paint. Then the officer there, the officer in charge, hired a painter for him to help him paint. And now today, as we speak, he is a member of Foot and Mouth Painters Association, which is headquartered in Switzerland, and he gets a monthly stipend, a good amount of money in euros from there. And he right now has 8 other soldiers whom he is teaching. So somehow life gives you, very hard times, but it also gives you some ways and means to go forward. Now, he's made a house for his brother. His parents passed away due to shock and losing their son to disability. So he made his brother complete his studies. Then he had a younger sister who wanted to study. And he helped her study. He kept sending money home. घर भी बना लिया. बहन को भी खूब पढ़ाया. जब तक बहन पढ़ना चाहती थी, he helped her. और अब इतने फख्र से कहता है, मैम आपको पता है, हमारा गांव में, हमारा पूरा कम्युनिटी में मेरा सिस्टर जो है ना, सबसे ज़्यादा पढ़ा लिखा सिस्टर है. And that happiness on his face. So they give you inspiration and they want you to do more and write more and create more awareness about this subject so that the countrymen, the people in power are more aware and do things which should be done for the disabled soldiers. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Thank you. I'm having very mixed feelings right now because I do have fantastic positive case studies as well, but numbers don't lie. And the fact is that only 13% of the war disabled soldiers are in any kind of a job. This is a recent study. So I am very impressed, Jenny, with all that you are doing, and I will only request you to prioritize the employment of the disabled soldiers. Because there are, they are capable of fantastic things, but there are issues that prevent people from giving them jobs. So whether it's work from home, work closer to home, or work for a family member, I mean, how do we prioritize? This is what society needs to think about. Otherwise, I also have Naik Gurmail Singh, one para, lost an arm in IPKF operations. Very motivated person, took up a job in some private company, security guard, store manager, sales, but his salary never kept moving up the way his responsibilities kept moving up. Finally, he got so tired, he left that company, started a mesh weld company of his own. Today he has 40 employees. He, his products go across the country. In fact, I was called for some superstar singer reality show, Shaheed Divas, they start looking out. Acha, kaun hai? Mata family ka kaun hai, bulao. So I was called and I said, I was in the middle of the study. I said, please, mere badle, आप एक ऐसे मैं आपको किसी और से connect करवाती हूँ, आप उनको बुलाइए. So I connected them to Naik Gurmail Singh. He and his wife were flown down to Bombay, very well looked after, 2 days hotel में घुमा फिरा के in the talent show, etc. So a lot of positive things have happened through the study. That person's son has again gone back to the infantry. The motivation of our war disabled is just, I know, something which stuns me. And I really feel I'm sorry if I'm being passionate and negative, but I really feel we need to do a lot more than what individual success stories are. Because there's a boy from my son's unit, again I got to know through a volunteer, ma'am, Akshay was 51 engineers. I said, हाँ, एक survey form में ना 51 engineers लिखा है. Lance Naik, Onkar Singh. So I said, ठीक है, let me also speak with him. When I spoke with him, he in a mind blast has lost vision, thoda bahut jaw, facial injuries, mind blast, multiple. Lots of them have multiple injuries. It's not just one limb gone or something like that. Young man, 2 young children, all the time in touch with me. So and why this person was referred to me, his form was, everything was positive. Our unit bahut achhi hai, army bahut achhi hai, everyone has been very supportive, whereas many of them said, oh no, I've been forgotten, now nobody is visiting me, no one cares, etc. Then I haven't been able to get him a job. I have tried. And people reach out saying corporates mein hai, they prefer ex-servicemen, they prefer, okay, war widows refer karo. I have managed to get war widows a job. I have not succeeded in something which suits his disability and his requirement. So I really think we need to prioritize this issue much more than what we think sitting in this room. Individual positive stories are fine, but the value of this study will only be from the outcomes that it generates at policy, legislation, and actual society. What can society do? Please reach out, recognize, respect them, call them for victory celebrations and felicitations. Start looking at their needs. What is the need? Unko chahiye job, ya wife ko, ya bacche ko, ya, whatever there's the need, respond to that need. That is what society can do. This is what I wanted to say, and I'm sorry if I've been a little,
Absolutely. You can, something positive has to come out of all of us discussing and, narrating such stories to the environment. Very important. I take it that, thanks to USI that I met Mrs. Girish and Ms. Zaidi, of course. So I will definitely, we take this forward, and let's see in a limited time frame, we should make a kind of a difference, and I will put my level best.
Thank you all for your patient hearing. I have 2 small points to make. First is, as far as the system and the organization is concerned, while a lot has been done, and a lot will continue to happen, but what is required is a change in attitude. You need more empathetic approach to look after your own people. The biggest litigant against your own war-wounded people, please find out, go to the Google and find out who is the most largest litigant. So you need an attitudinal change. And as far as the society is concerned, there is not enough that the society can do for the kind of cost these people have paid. The society needs to identify itself with these people by supporting them for its own good. To quote the indomitable Colonel Chinmaya Prakash, in his interview for AFMC was asked, why do you want to become a doctor in the army? He said, we as AMC doctors, we would be treating soldiers who would be sick, wounded, hurt. So he said, if we cannot support them when they are weakest, we do not deserve them when they are strongest. So therefore, we all as a society need to support them when they are weakest to be able to deserve them at their strongest. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much to the entire panel for such a, I mean, this was the most enlightening and informative session of the day, although the last one. So again, I will request my colleague to felicitate you with a token of gratitude. And before this session gets to an end, and today's day also gets to an end, I would just want to inform people present here that there's another special session going on upstairs in the seminar hall. So all those who are interested can move up for the session. And after the session, we are going to have a band, army band performance outside. So I'll request all of you all to stay put and do enjoy the band performance. It's a very unique, the army band performance is a very unique one. So we expect all of you to be around to witness that. Thank you once again for being here.